has the potential to succeed in all major fields of vocation, for example, social life, political life, if you will, and every aspect of them. Why? Because the nuclear family, the nuclear institute, he made sure that he succeed in that. So if he does succeed in that, that will be reflected into other fields. And someone who is more successful in his life, in his marital life, first of all, as I said, that he would succeed in other fields, he also will earn God's satisfaction and rewards. As the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, says, خيركم خيركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهله. The best among you are those who are the best for their families, and I am the best among you to his family. So someone who does good to his family, and he's very good with his family, God considers this person as a productive and a good and pious man. This is according to the narrations of the Prophet, peace be upon him. One important result of this successful life in marriage, it produces and gives to the society and provides society with useful members, with righteous people, with righteous progeny and children. You see, when you have a great family life, definitely your sons, your daughters, your children will grow up in a peaceful environment. Therefore, they would not become prone to any troubles that afflict them. Therefore, they end up to be a good and wonderful members in the society, productive members in the society, in addition to the fact that they are righteous and good people. And they are the ones who will come to your rescue as a parent when we disease and depart this life, when we are in complete disconnection with this life. They come to our rescue. How? The Prophet, peace be upon him, says, إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمْ انْقَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. Anyone who dies and departs this life is completely disconnected from any good act, any good doing, except from three things. One of them, وَوَلَدٌ صَالِحٌ يَدْعُو لَهُ. Except those who have pious and righteous children, with either a daughter or a son, who prays in your behalf. So you start getting and earning credit while you are in the hereafter. This is the beauty of a successful life in your marriage. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. However, there is a challenge. These righteous children and good and decent and moral children, they do not show up spontaneously. Not that all of a sudden you see them in front of you. This requires work, diligent work. This requires a good and conducive environment. I will give you an example. You see a beautiful mansion, majestic mansion. Does it come by itself, spontaneously? That's impossible. You would realize out of this beautiful mansion there must have been a good planning, excellent planning, an excellent civil engineer, and an electromechanical engineer, and an architectural engineer who put their thoughts and efforts all together, did a well thought of a planning as well as a good execution, until you end up seeing this beautiful mansion. By itself, it doesn't appear. The same thing with pious and wonderful individuals in the society, the children. They don't come out of nowhere. They don't come just from raising my hand and saying, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. Please God, give me good children. And that happens. It comes through diligent work. You see, the Quran gives a beautiful example. He says, if you see an exotic and beautiful plants, flowers, fruitful trees, those in abundance, when you look at them, you see that they grew in rich land, in a green land, in a fertile land. While a barren land, a desert, doesn't give you this kind of exotic and beautiful flowers and fruit. Rather, it gives you spiky and poisonous flowers. As the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ لَا يَخْرُجُ إِلَّا نَكِدًا. Very, the concentration of Quran on this fact, the importance of the vessel, the importance of the container, in which environment, in which family you bring up these pious people. Those will not be coming to materialize and to exist except the fact that they grow up in a conducive environment. For anything, there is a law. We call it the universal law. In marriage is also a universal law. Pious children, wonderful children, decent and moral children will not come from an unconditional relationship between husband and wife. The number one prerequisite and a criteria is to have a decent family within the framework of law. And number one criteria, when you have the male, the parents come from opposite genders. Unfortunately today, in this country and other countries, under the name of a freedom and equality, they started to ransack and violate this important universal law, shaking up the institution of marriage. Imagine what they will get. I remember I stated this statement 6 years ago, in 2014. In my note, I remember as I looked at it, I said, okay, if these people will start with this kind of acts, shaking up the foundation of marriage, you will expect, this is 6 years ago, expect you will end up having mass shooting in the street. Today, how many mass shootings we have per month? Is there any month that goes without a mass shooting? And murders and killing and gangsters? Where do those come from? Because we shook up the foundation. When you shake up the foundation, you expect such kind of results. But how would you feed it into people? The minute you say that, you're against the freedom, against equality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided a framework, has given, a framework through which we should act. These are the universal laws that we are talking. Any violation of that, we will see the consequences. We will end up paying for these consequences as a whole, as a society. Let's go back to the ayah that I recited at the beginning. The Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about multiple benefits of a marital life. He says, أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. He created from you conjugates, your spouses. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. Number one, to settle, to have tranquility and peace with. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Let's talk about لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. As the verse says, meaning you will have peace, tranquility, and good relation. This is the meaning, settlement, so you can settle in such life. Today, studies and statistics tell you these facts. These are all from, impartial and scholarly studies. Tell you that a married couple, tend to be happier, also healthier, also outlive and make more money than their bachelor or single counterparts on 3 and 4 different levels. Number one, they will be more happy. Second, healthier. Third, they outlive the single ones and they end up making more money or saving more money. If you don't believe me, ask any auto insurance. Tell them I am a single and I have 20 years of history in driving. Or someone else comes in, no, I am married, both as a couple, and we haven't, we want to buy an insurance. You will see the difference between the two. and they make more money. Well, someone who put up with his spouse for 25 years and 30 years, definitely he can put up himself with the customers and with the challenges of the work. Therefore, they will end up making more money. This, when you talk about the, settlement. And they also have a better intimate life than the single ones. This is on the لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهِ. Then the ayah says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. There is love and affection and mercy among yourselves. This component is extremely important. It is part of our humane nature. Gratification and acknowledgement. Every individual. There is no human being that is not in need of love. To be loved and to love others. This is part of our humanity. Anywhere you go, anywhere you see that individuals are in dire need for being loved and to love. If you look at some of those criminals, mass shooters, those who are burglars, committed crimes, when you check their history, you see they came from family that haven't been disturbed and they have not received equal amount or adequate amount of love and affection. They could not have expressed themselves. Therefore, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Says that, أَفَاضِلُكُمْ أَحَاسِنُكُمْ. The best among you, أَفَاضِلُكُمْ أَحَاسِنُكُمْ أَخْلَاقًا. The one who have the best behavior and morality. الْمُوَطَّئُونَ أَكْنَافًا. The humble ones. الَّذِينَ يَأْلِفُونَ وَيُؤْلَفُونَ. Who long for people and people long for them. They love others and others love them. This is the word of the Prophet. Therefore, love is considered to be main component of any relationship. Now, unfortunately, in our conservative society, Eastern society call it, or the pseudo-Islamic society. Why I say pseudo-Islamic? Because it's not a genuinely Islamic society. The minute you use the word love, as there's an Armageddon. Some people get insulted. Some people get outraged. Some people, pour to the street and demonstrate. Why? Because of the word love. There is a big taboo against the word love. Either they have misunderstood the word love, or there's some certain problem with them. You see, when you look at love itself as a word, as an emotion, there is nothing wrong with that at all. At all. It's an emotion. The emotion place is in the heart. It is not in the mind. The heart is a free zone. What does it mean, a free zone? Meaning that it cannot be controlled. You cannot control your heart. Yes, you may control your mind. You can think in a special way. You can determine your acts. You can control your act. But can you control your heart? You cannot control your heart. Emotion and love, the right place of it is in the heart, away from mind. This is as an emotion. One man came to Al-Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Did he say, is love okay? Is it okay to love someone? Or to think of love? The Imam told him, وَهَلِ الدِّينِ إِلَّا الْحُبِّ. The whole religion is about love. When you think about it, it's only love. I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore I follow Him. I love the Prophet and the progeny of the Prophet, so I love them and make myself committed to my religion and faith. So all starts with love. But what do we have a problem with? We have with the wrongful manifestation of love. That under the guise of love, they practice certain physical activities and they tell you this is love. No, we're against that. These are not acceptable. Why? Because they are not a true love. This is a physical desire under the guise of love. But love by itself is something extremely important in any relationship between men and women should have the component of love. Let's talk about the laws of the marital life. This marital life should be conditioned. You see, one problem that we have, we want to have an unconditional love with unconditional living. This is impossible. If I want to have an unconditional love, my living should be conditional. I give you an example. I stated it here when we had the session for the youth. This country, America, is called the land of the free, right? Meaning land of freedom. Meaning that people who have been persecuted in their lands, when they come here, they practice whatever they believe in freely, as we are doing it right here. Believe me, these sessions that we are holding, we cannot do the same sessions maybe in 85% of our Islamic countries, believe it or not. We cannot hold such kind of sessions in these countries. But here in this country, you can do that. This is the meaning of the land of freedom land. But the same land, how many laws is applied to this land? One of the brothers, when we were talking, he said only for tax there are 70,000 pages of laws and regulations for only one item, and that is tax. Whether it's a federal tax or a state tax or income tax or sales tax, anyway, or property tax, and keep taxing, 70,000 pages. Yes?
I apologize, but I need to correct you. That's just the federal code.
That's only the federal one.
Yes.
70,000, remember. And this is only one item. So this country that we consider to be free, imagine how many laws and regulations are. And you have to abide by those. When you come to an institution like marriage, definitely there should be a law. In order to receive, unconditional love. Unconditional love always entails conditional living. It must be within the framework of law. Otherwise, you have ruined your law. Let's go back and talk about these marital life. You see, brothers and sisters, the statistics, the numbers of divorce in this country and elsewhere is staggering, beyond imagination. They tell you that 60% of marriages end up in divorce before their first anniversary. Why? Those people are sick. They just want to get married in order to get divorced. Is that the reason? Or there is something? The problem, brothers and sisters, is that those people and others, they don't follow the universal law of marriage. In our nature, in our physical world, we have laws of physics that govern. If you defy the laws of physics, you will fail. You will fail miserably. You go to a 5th-story building and throw yourself from there to the bottom. What happens to you? Either you die or you end up having broken ribs and bones and everything. Why? Because you're trying to defy the law of gravity. In a small alleyway, you drive 120 miles per hour. What do you end up with? With a crash. No matter how many times you kissed the Quran and went underneath, how many times you recited Charqul, how many times you recited Ayat al-Kursi, but you end up having a crash and killing people. Why? Because you are defying the speed limit law. Anyone who defies any of those laws will, bear the consequences. The same thing. With marriage, there are laws. If you follow them, you will end up having success. If not, it will be life-consuming. It will be life-depleting. Marriage meant to be happiness, fruitful, so you enjoy your life, but it is not without trouble. When we do not follow those laws, and those are universal. I'm not talking about Islam and Shi'ism and Ahl al-Bayt. use your logic and think of those universal laws. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Two fundamental principles that logic says and Quran came to ascertain them in any marriage. You know, there are plenty. I'm just picking up those two because there is no time to explain everything. One of them is the mutual understanding between husband and wife. And the other one is respect and dignified life. One, mutual understanding. The other one is respect and dignified love and life between the two. Let's talk about the first one. They tell you, socialists tell you, the sociology scientists tell you, especially those pertaining to family. They tell you the more homogeneous the family, meaning that both the groom and the bride have same background, same thinking, same conviction, same tradition, their marriage prolongs longer. Well, the longevity of marriage will be longer than usual ones. Why? Because there is a principle. It's used in physical science, in chemistry. Also, it is used in our relationship, in sociology. It says like attracts like. When I have a certain mentality and certain worldview and certain norms and tradition and values, I get along with my spouse who have the same ideology, the same thing that I do. Therefore, we can get along easier. I am not claiming but being heterogeneous will cause trouble. I am saying that based on studies, the percentage of a homogeneous marriage is more than a heterogeneous marriage. Where do you find that? You find it in the statistics, in the number of divorces. However, there is a challenge. First of all, you cannot find two people who have identical thinking, identical taste, identical appetite, identical worldview, identical interests, identical hobbies. There is no such a thing. Eventually we differ. Why? Because we're a human. Part of our humanity to have a distinctive feature for ourselves. This is number one. Second, scientific studies have shown that there is a difference in form and function of our brains between men and women. So these are all related to science. They tell you the perception, thinking, attitude comes from the brain. There is a difference between the male brain and the female brain. I'm not talking about a substantial difference. I'm talking about subtle difference that I will explain, in a bit. But eventually, there are differences between the guy's brain and the woman's brain. What are those differences? Although, with all due respect to the scholars and doctors who are sitting here and who can correct me, please, if you see any mistake, please correct me. Although I did my homework, I studied as much as I could and got the information, but maybe, some of them are not very precise and concise. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. They tell you that in the difference between men and women brain, there is a material that I just wrote it here and I'm trying to find. Oh, here it is. It says that there is a material called corpus callosum. The percentage of this material differs between men and women. And if you study the physiology, you see little differences between the two. Based on that, you see thinking, perception, and attitude also changes. Many women complain about their husband's hearts. You tell them, what's wrong with them? They say they're emotionless. They're not, there's something wrong with them. You tell them, okay, describe to me, what would you like to be an ideal man's heart, ideal emotion? They start to describe another woman. The problem is that they don't realize that there is a difference, a fundamental difference between men and women. And based on these functionalities and formation, they have different perceptions and different attitude. Out of God's wisdom and mercy, God made men and women complement each other. They make up for each other. They're not identical to each other. Therefore, when you have one part of a brain that complement the other part of the brain, you will end up having a peaceful life, a wonderful life. Now, they say, going back again to this corpus callosum, they say that this matter, which is between the right and left hemisphere of the brain, shows thickness and measurement in females than males. Also, they did this study. They gave novel to men and women, and then they monitored the flow of blood in their brains. They saw, as the novel goes on, and they read the novel, they see that the men's brain, the blood flow in the men's brain is compartmentalized. It only goes to a certain part of the brain. While woman's brain is scattered, it diffuses in the entire brain. This is what I have read, and this is what I have studied. Then we can argue if there is a problem with that. But this is based on this study. Does this matter? They tell you yes, it matters. This one is indicative. What is the indication? They tell you this makes women more articulate. They have a better verbal skill than men. While men are better thinkers when it comes to thinking tasks, men can outperform women. But in expression, in talking, in articulating things, women are better. Is that the only difference? They say no, there is another difference. This fact that blood flows all into one compartment in the man's brain, while woman's brain, it gets, scattered in the entire brain. This tells you that men are better focused on a single function at a time. They are a single task individuals, while women are multitask individuals. They can do many things at one time, while men, they have to do it once at a time. This is how they describe. Let's go back. Let's put it in a better explanation. Think of men's brain and woman's brain. Men's brain, think of multiple boxes. You have one box here, one box here, one box here, one box here. We use one box for children. The other box for the wife. A third box for the job. Fourth one for the money. Fifth one, soccer. Sixth one, politics. And things like that. When I am a man thinking of something, first I go to one box, I open that box, use that box, I am done, I close it, set it aside, go to next box. And so forth. Multiple boxes, multiple compartments. While woman's brain, like a ball, like a big box, that everything is thrown inside. Therefore, they are multitask, with all due respect, of course, to my dear sisters here. So, you're welcome. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Does this mean anything? Yes, it means. Men's, which is a single task, meaning when it gets focused on something, his attention is not about anything else. If you have an important thing to tell him, don't tell him while he's busy with something. You as a wife, when you go and tell him, honey, and you see him that he's writing, for example, honey, tomorrow you have an appointment with the doctor. Even if he nods, tell you yes, he's not listening. He's not paying attention to you. Why? Because he's a single task individual. Is there a proof for that? Yes. The Almighty gives this proof. It says, مَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِرَجُلٍ مِّن قَلْبَيْنِ. Qalb, of course, in the Quran doesn't mean this heart. Rather, it means the mind. God said that any man is not created with two hearts. Meaning at the same time cannot have two things. One by one. It says rajul, does not say insan. Rajul meaning a man. You see? These are the beauties of Quran that later on you started to deduct it from. But women, mashallah, they can do multiple tasks. First of all, they got everything related to each other. For example, the course that they are taking is connected with their children, which is connected to the cheesecake that they ate 2 weeks ago, which is connected to the dishwashing machine that they purchased a month ago and the warranty expired, which is connected, for example, to a vacation that they will travel in maybe a year, which is connected to their mother-in-law. So this is the brain. And they are multitasked. At the same time that they are cooking their favorite dish, chicken tikka masala, for example, at the same time they are, attending to their babies and feeding their babies. At the same time they're watching their favorite soap opera. At the same time they're spying on their husband's iPhone. At the same time they have to speak and saying, salawat to their mother-in-law. While man is focused only on one subject, one to one to one. Women, mashallah, remember everything. Men, although it sounds funny, but this is a reality. Men tend to forget everything. If you doubt this as an observation, mashallah, we brought very good discussion with one lady. Sallu ala Muhammad. As a test, just for an observation, look at the arguments between men, between husband and wife. The minute that the wife starts to argue, she brings up everything in the face of her husband. From the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam and Eve until today. Everything in his face. Why? Because these are connected. One connected to one. They bring up everything. The poor man has to be quiet. Why? Because they are also verbally more articulate. They can speak up their heart. They can express themselves. While men here should declare, he is lost. He should concede. This is for fact. Let's talk about an important point here. And then we have to move on. This is at the time of stress. Both happens. Men get under stress and women get under stress. Men, when they get under stress, I forgot to tell you about another beautiful box that we men have in our brain that is called nothing. Nothing box. What is this nothing box? Meaning that I don't want to do anything. I don't want to think. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do anything. Whenever we as men have an opportunity, we would love to go into that box. What is the indication? Have you seen those men who grab the remote control and change it 27,000 times per second? Keep flipping channels? This is indicative of we have nothing to do. I'm just having nothing to do, I'm just changing. At the time of distress, we would like to go into that box. We don't like to think about it. We don't want to discuss it. This is how men approach stress. On the other side, women cannot go into nothing box because they always think. Even when they are sleeping, they think. So to them, doesn't make any sense not to think. They have to think, even at the time of stress. And because they are articulate, they're good in expression. How they get it out of their chest? When they talk, and talk, and talk, and talk, and talk, and talk. So when they talk their problems, they feel that they are relieved. And this is natural. When you tell them 5-minute talk, they take it for 7 hours talk. This is how they are. Why? And this is natural with all women. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created them this way. They are articulate, they speak well, they can express themselves, and this is how they get the stress out. For a loving husband someone who cares about his family, and this is the important thing. Someone who cares about his wife and his family and want to have a peaceful relationship. You as a man have to be a good listener. You have to listen. You know, they know that you are not a Batman to go and beat the hell out of whoever they hate. But they want you to be a good listener. They want you to listen. Whenever they have problems, agonies, grief, they want you to be there to listen to them. This is the nature of women. Therefore, men, in order to have a harmonious and good relationship with their wives, be a good listener, just listen. But for the women, when they see their husband under stress, for the 14 infallible sake, don't go and tell him, honey, talk to me. He's not going to talk to you. Why? Because he's under stress. He wants to be quiet. He wants to be, relieving. For a moment, not thinking about something, not talking about something. All you can do, go grab his hand, bring him a cup of water, hug him, and sit next to him for a while. Until he's comfortable, until he's a little relieved, then start to ask him questions and make him speak up. But at the time of stress, you know that men don't like to talk. Of course, I'm speaking generally. I'm not saying that every man has this equality or every woman has equality. But in general, women would like to speak up, tell what's there inside. Men would like to retreat and be quiet. This mutual understanding make them succeed in their lives. The problem is that our expectations, brothers and sisters. I, as a man, expect from my wife things that is not in her befitting. As a woman, she cannot do that. You see, brothers and sisters, man can go outside in front of the sun, under a grilling sun, and work for 10 hours, sweating. But come and give him a baby. For 30 minutes, he doesn't know what to do. This is for a fact. For a man should not expect that a woman could go outside and do his work. She cannot. She's very good with the baby. She can take care of good care of the baby. And for the woman, she shouldn't expect that the man can do everything for the baby. He's not capable of that. Why? Because she is full of affection and love. This is the mercy that God has instilled within women to give away to their children. And this is how they become the pillar of the family. And it brings warmth and affection and love to the family. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. The other one, and inshallah in a few minutes we will be done, respect and dignified treatment. You see, brothers and sisters, every individual in a society has the right and has obligation. For me, in order to get my right, I have to fulfill my obligations. We have to respect our obligations. Our families, our spouses, they have all legitimate rights. We should provide these rights for them. We should make sure that these rights are given to them. We cannot suppress these rights from them. Some of us are very caring and tender toward others. When it comes to others, we're very good, humble, caring, assist others, do everything for others. But when it comes to family, we neglect them. We forget them. While Quran and Islam and the Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam have emphasized on the family first. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-aqrabuna awla bil-ma'ruf. If you have a good feeling, if you have a nice demeanor, show it to your family before you go and show it to others. Make your family happy with these akhlaq than other ones. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says, لا يكن أهلك أشقى الخلق بك. Don't make your family are the only ones who suffer from your attitude, from your behavior. For outsiders, you're very happy, very good, very humble and respectable. But with the family, You're always angry and mad, and you only expect that your rights are fulfilled without giving your own obligation. This is one thing. The other thing, let's learn from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam how they were treating each other. I will give you a very vivid example that we do all the time, but we don't pay attention to the details, to the content of that. And that is when we go and recite this dua, the dua that we recite when we have the children, dua al-kisa or hadith al-kisa. Hadith al-kisa is narrated and recited in many occasions. In the time of a blessing, in the time of marriage, in abd al-nikah, when we buy a new home, when we travel, come back from Hajj, in any celebration, we recite hadith al-kisa for the blessing of it. But we never pay attention to its detail. We don't look at the content of that hadith. What does it happen there? Let's look at the relationship between the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his children, Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, Hassan, Hussein, Ali ibn Abi Talib. We miss those things, but we are only looking for the verbal jargons, what is said, and just say salawat, without paying attention to the details. Look, the Prophet, peace be upon him, entered the house, he says salam, assalamu alaikum. One of the criteria of a mu'min, ifsha is salam. Say salam. Number one thing that at any place you meet someone, start with a salam, assalamu alaikum. This is the greeting of people of Jannah. Unfortunately, we miss this important word. We never say salam. Hey, what's up? Is there anything I can do? Yeah, hello, how are you? The same thing we talk to our family as we are talking to strangers. Hadith al-Kisa teaches how we say salam. The Prophet enters upon his daughter, say salam. Hassan comes to the house, say salam. Ali ibn Abi Talib comes, say salam. Hussein, everyone who comes in the house, say salam. This is number one. Second, look at how they seek permission. You know, the sanctity of a privacy. Imam Hassan comes in the house and he goes to his grandfather. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah. هل تأذن لي أن أدخل تحت الكساء? Would you allow me, permit me that I come under the kisa? Then Hussein comes in the same manner. Then Ali ibn Abi Talib comes in the same manner. Then Fatima al-Zahra, and they request a permission to enter the kisa. You see how beautiful, how they handle each other and how they speak to each other. Also, they speak with the pleasant words. Look, when Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam comes, or when Imam al-Hassan comes, and he says salam to his mother, what does his mother tell him? He tells him, وَعَلَيْكَ السَّلَامِ يَا قُرَّةَ عَيْنِي وَثَمَرَةَ فُؤَادِي. Oh, my joy of heart, my joy of eye, my fruit of heart. This is how they speak, you know, with each other. He goes to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and says, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, ya man ikhtarahu Allah. In the same manner, the Prophet greets him with respect. Wa alayka salam, ya waladi, wa sahibi, hawdi. And these beautiful words that they exchange between themselves. These are the things that we should learn from Hadith al-Kisa. The way that they handle each other, the way that they talk to each other. You see, brothers and sisters, one important factor is the gathering. The Prophet, peace be upon him, used to see Ali ibn Abi Talib and Hassan and Hussein every day in the masjid. 5 times a day, they would come to the masjid, they perform the prayers. But the Prophet find the time to go to the house of Fatima and sit with his family all together. Sitting with the family together is a priority. Do not miss it. No business should take over this. No work should take over this. You cannot bring any excuse that you're not sitting with your family and with your children. This is the most fundamental thing and component in any marital life. Why? Because to children, the role model is the father. The role model is the mother. Whatever they do, it's imprinted in their heart. Therefore, we have to seek time. despite the distraction, despite the busy time, we have to find a time. Even if they grow up, even if they get married and they're somewhere else, find a time, either in the breakfast or in dinner or in lunch, get together and discuss things, talk about things, the same way as the Prophet, peace be upon him, is sitting with his families. You know, according to Arab tradition, an orphan is not the one that his father or his mom died and he's left alone. No. According to this poet, he said, you know who's the orphan? That orphan is that his father has neglected him. His mother has neglected him. This poetry is by Ahmed Shawqi. They call him Amir al-Shu'ara. Says, ليس اليتيم من انتهى أبواه من هم الحياة وخلفاه ذليلا. Yatim is not the one that his parents have departed this world and left him, you know, in loneliness. إن اليتيم هو الذي تلقى له أما تخلت أو أبا مشغولا. The father is busy from morning until evening, and the mother is busy with her affairs. Therefore, the children grow up in the street, you know, on the TV, on the Pokemon, on the, you know, internet. These are the ones who raise the kids, not the parents. Let's talk about one of the orphans in Karbala. One iconic figure in Karbala and in Karbala revolution was an orphan that his father passed away when he was at a very young age, maybe 1 or 2 years. And he doesn't remember his father. But his father has left him a note. He wrote this note and asked his mother, he told his mother, wait for my son. Once he grows up, at that time, show him this note. This note, make him open it in the desert of Karbala. That orphan is Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. The narrator said that there was a letter from his father. Has written a letter for him, told his mother, do not open it until the day of misery, the day of grief. When Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan opened the letter, he saw the words of his father. It says, بني قاسم إذا رأيت عمك الحسين وحيدا فريدا في كربلاء فلا تقصر في نصرته. Oh my dear son Qasim, if one day you saw that your uncle is alone by himself, surrendered by the enemies, do not leave him alone. Do not abandon him. Defend him. That was Qasim, who was only 13 years old. Qasim, on the eve of Ashura, was among the companions who were sitting and listening to Hussein. Hussein ibn Ali on that night told the entire companions and his household that all of you will be massacred. All will be killed. At the end, Qasim went to his uncle and told him, Ya an wa ana minhum, I am also included in this list that you talked about. Imam Hussein was baffled. Told him, Bunayya Qasim, kayfa al-mawtu 'indak? How do you feel about death, Qasim? Qasim, the young age, only 13 years old, he said, Ya am wallah fi nusratika ahla min al-asal. In your assistance, it is sweeter than honey. This was the feeling of Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. On the day of Ashura, as Imam Hussein was asking his brothers and his cousins and permitting them to go and defend him, all of a sudden he saw this new teen came out of the tent and going to his uncle, wearing the turban of his father, Al-Hasan alayhi salam. Putting the sword, with the sheath of the sword, with the spear in his hand, the cloak is wearing, the dress, the armor is wearing, the armor shield is coming to his uncle, Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. Amma ata'danu li bil-qital? Would you permit me to go and fight? At that time, Al-Hussein started to weep and cry, hugged this little boy and told him, Ya bunay, I didn't seek permission from your mother. I don't know if your mother would allow that you fight. She said, Ya Ammah, Wallah, inna ummi albasadni lamata harbi. It is my mother who made me dress those clothes. She was the one who asked me to go and fight in front of you. He seeks permission from his uncle. He goes to the battle, riding on his ride and fighting. He kills a group of the warriors. All of a sudden, his shoelace disconnects. Torn up. As he starts to fix it, a man comes and hits him right on his head. He flips from the horse on the ground and declares, Ya Ammah, alayka minni salam, adrikni ya Ammah. Imam Hussein comes and see that this little boy, in his last moment, he hugs him and tells him, أَيَعَزُّ عَلَىٰ عَمِّكَ يَا بُنَيَّ أن تدعوه فلا يجيبك أو يجيبك فلا يعينك أو يعينك فلا يغني عنك. He cries, he weeps, he grabs him, he takes him to the tent and put him next to Ali al-Akbar. His mother Ramla saw Hussein enters the tent. She felt embarrassed to go. She was waiting outside. The minute that Hussein ibn Ali leaves the tent, she goes and stains her body and her hair with the blood of Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.